What's up, motivators? Taren here. If you're a busy triathlete, you want to get the most out of the hours that you put in. So we have put together the 7 best things that you can do in your day-to-day workouts and your overall training plan that are going to allow you to build more fitness with fewer training hours. You're going to perform better and you're going to get a lot more out of the hours that you put in. Let's do it. When regular people want to do something personally amazing in an endurance event, they use motive training plans. Whether you're just getting started or you've done several events and want a little more structure to step up your game, we know what it takes to get amateurs to their goals, no matter how big or small. You can accomplish anything you want. You just need a plan designed for the unique needs of people with families, jobs, and a busy life. The motive training method is that plan to get you to the start line feeling confident and across the finish line feeling strong. The first way to get better performance from the training hours that you put in is to focus on technique if you are an athlete who swims on the slower side of the pack. This means that if you do a sprint triathlon swim in 15 minutes or slower, an Olympic triathlon swim in 30 minutes or slower, a half Ironman triathlon swim in 40 minutes or slower, or an Ironman triathlon swim in 80 minutes or slower, the best return on your investment for the swim time that you put in will be achieved by working on your technique, because at this point, you're just an inefficient swimmer. And the biggest gains that you can make are by making yourself a little more slippery in the water, a little more efficient in the water, not by working harder in the water. So getting a training plan that tends to focus on technique as opposed to just big, voluminous swimming is what will generate the best results for you. I think that probably about 80% of triathletes fall into this camp, and this is why our training plans tend to focus a lot more on technique and then just polishing up a little bit of fitness and making sure that you can actually complete the duration of the swim at a fairly high effort level in the last 2 to 3 months before race is how we like to recommend people do their swim training. The second thing that you can do to get more out of the training hours that you're putting in is to make your lower intensity sessions actually a little bit more purposeful. We like to look at our sessions in one of 3 ways. One is endurance building, this is long and low intensity. One is speed building, this is very high intensity. And the next is recovery focused. Now these recovery focused sessions don't all just have to be strictly very low intensity, boring sessions. What you can do with these sessions is actually manipulate them a little bit to get more out of them while keeping the training load low. So for example, this could be something like low cadence riding, where you're riding at 50 to 60 RPM, and this low grinding riding tends to build up muscular endurance while keeping your heart rate low. So the training intensity and the lactic acid buildup is very low, but the training effect is a little bit higher because you're pushing out higher power. Similarly, if you're doing your easy runs or your very low intensity runs, instead of doing them on flat ground on cement, you can do them on trails and hills, keeping your heart rate low. This is going to force your body to make little micro adjustments and adaptations and run up and down hills, stabilizing yourself. So even though your heart rate is in the same place, you're going to be getting a better training effect. The third thing that you can do, and this is very critical for age group athletes, particularly those who spend a lot of the time sitting, be it desk workers or people who spend a lot of time driving, is to do some really intense bursts. These are 10 to 60 second, very intense bursts that will activate a lot of muscle groups, strengthen the neurological connection between the brain and the muscles, and turn on those fast twitch muscle fibers. This is key for age group athletes because we don't tend to activate our fast twitch muscle fibers very well. And when we have a very fast, high top end, all of the bottom end steady effort stuff feels easier and it's actually easier to execute. So it unlocks a little bit of speed that's sitting dormant in our body. We tend to do a lot of these efforts in the off season and the base building season with big rest in between, so that by the time we get into race specific training, our ability to hold fast efforts is going to be a little bit faster. The fourth thing that you need to do to make your time efficient is your long rides and runs that are meant to build endurance have to be very, very low intensity. At very, very most, we're talking roughly 5 beats per minute away and lower from the top end of your heart rate zone 2. The reason for this is that the stress response from those low intensity rides is going to be very low. This is going to keep your nervous system primed and ready so that when you have a fast workout, you can hit it really fast, really hard, and actually absorb that training. If you're cooking it a little bit too hard in those long rides and runs, you're not going to be able to push as easily in those fast runs, and you're not actually going to even be able to absorb those fast workouts. So they're not even going to have the effect that you want. The fifth thing that you can do to enhance your training plan is to make sure that the nutrition for every single workout complements the desired training effect from that workout. Sometimes a workout is meant to push your top end into very high intensity, fast efforts. For this, we want to have lots of carbs on board, easy to access energy so that you can very quickly push into that very painful, difficult state and get a training effect from that push. The flip side of that is that when we are going long and low intensity focused on building endurance, one of the best things that we can do to build endurance is to increase our ability to burn fat as fuel. And if you can do this, you have a nearly endless energy source that you can access in your race. So instead of loading up with carbs and taking a gel or a chew or a bar every 20 to 30 minutes, you're taking much, much less carbohydrates and keeping your blood sugar nice and low, possibly from something like a UCAN bar, so that your insulin doesn't spike, blunting your fat metabolism. The second to last thing is strength, strength, and more strength. It's been found that athletes can replace up to 20% of their endurance training with strength training and actually enhance their performance. So let's say you're training 8 hours and you want to get on board with doing strength. Instead of just adding on strength training and doing 9 or 10 total hours, you can actually do 7 hours of endurance training and 1 hour of strength training each week, and you're actually going to perform better. The reason for this is that strength training makes your body more efficient at using energy. Your economy improves so that you're using less energy at the same pace, or you can go faster at the same effort level. Strength training is the #1 performance enhancer next to the final thing that you should do to make your training much more effective with the hours that you're putting in. And the final thing is sleep. Sleep is a non-negotiable. With the athletes that we work with, anytime we have a consultation with somebody who feels like they've plateaued or they're working really hard and completing all their sessions but not being able to actually get any faster or execute on race day, the first thing that we ask is, how much sleep are you getting? And typically the answer is less than 7 hours of sleep. And when people are getting less than 7 hours of sleep, they just aren't recovering enough to repair the body from all of the hard work that they're doing. So they're putting in all the hard work and not actually getting anything out of it. What we found is that 7 hours is a minimum, 7.5 to 8.5 hours is ideal. A lot of pros do sleep more than 8.5 hours, but most pros are also training 3 to 5 hours a day, and studies have shown that unless you are training 3 to 5 hours a day, 7.5 to 8.5 hours for all of us age group athletes is much more appropriate. I hope that you found this helpful. If you want a complete guide for how to get into triathlon if you are a total beginner, click the video that is on the screen right now and go see our total guide for beginner triathletes. Later, motivators.